Welcome to the Empire of Secrets. Every episode, we peel back the cover on history's strangest mysteries. From lost cities and secret files to sightings that refuse to be explained. We follow the evidence, question the official story, and tell the stories that textbooks skip. Ready to go past the surface? Let's dive in. They call it Puma Punku, a place where the stones defy time, logic, and even gravity. High in the Bolivian Andes, more than 12,000 feet above sea level, stand the scattered remains of a civilization so advanced it seems impossible. Blocks of solid andesite, some weighing more than 100 tons, carved with microscopic precision. Grooves, drill holes, interlocking cuts, all made without steel, without wheels, and allegedly without writing. Mainstream archaeology says Puma Punku was built around 500 AD by the Tiwanaku culture. But the stones tell another story. A story of ancient engineers, forgotten knowledge, and maybe a memory of a world that came before the flood. Tonight, we return to the high plateau of the Andes, to the city of the gods, to ask a question no one has ever truly answered. Who built Puma Punku? Part 1. The Enigma of Stone. The Altiplano of Bolivia is a land of extremes. The air is thin, the sun blinding, the wind sharp as a blade. And in the midst of this desolate beauty lies a ruin that seems out of place, as if a fragment of some other world crashed into our own. From the air, Puma Punku looks like the aftermath of an explosion, giant stone blocks scattered like toys across the plateau. Yet when you walk among them, you realize there's nothing random about their shape. Perfect right angles, geometric precision, smooth surfaces that reflect light like polished metal. The H-shaped blocks fit together like pieces of a vast mechanical puzzle. Each one different, yet designed to interlock with the next. Even with today's technology, recreating them would be difficult. And these stones are not soft sandstone. They are andesite, one of the hardest rocks on Earth. So, how were they cut? How were they transported across miles of rugged terrain, from quarries miles away and hundreds of feet lower in elevation? No cranes, no iron tools, only human hands, or something more. Part 2. The official story. Archaeologists tell us the Tiwanaku civilization built Puma Punku around 500 AD, roughly 1,500 years ago. According to conventional theory, Tiwanaku was a religious center, and Puma Punku a ceremonial site dedicated to the gods of creation. The Tiwanaku people, we are told, used stone hammers, copper chisels, and rope to move and shape these massive blocks. They rolled them on logs, built earthen ramps, and used manpower alone. It's a neat explanation, simple, clean, reasonable. But when you stand before the stones, the story starts to crack. There are no tool marks consistent with copper, no traces of quarry ramps or roads strong enough to move 100-ton monoliths, and no written records of how it was done. Even local Aymara legends admit the site was not built by their ancestors. They say the gods, or giants, made Puma Punku in a single night. Part 3. The Legend of the Gods. In the old stories, the Andean god Viracocha came after a great flood. He brought light to a darkened world, taught humans the arts of civilization, and rebuilt what had been lost. He was tall, bearded, and light-skinned, strange for a region where no such features existed. Viracocha, it is said, built the first city at Tiwanaku, and from there, his children spread across the earth to restore humanity. To believers in a lost global civilization, like author Graham Hancock, Viracocha was one of the last survivors of the world before the flood. a remnant of a forgotten race that once spanned the planet, carrying with them the knowledge of the stars, geometry, and the sacred measure of the earth. Could Puma Punku be their handiwork? A message carved in stone, left for those who came after. Part 4. Stones that shouldn't exist. Let's look closer at what makes Puma Punku truly impossible. The H-blocks are cut to near machine precision. Each groove, each angle, fits within tolerances measured in fractions of a millimeter. Archaeologists admit they do not know how the Tiwanaku achieved such uniformity. Some blocks feature drill holes so perfectly round, they resemble those made by high-speed tools. Others contain complex internal cuts, rectangular slots that could only be made by long, thin blades inserted straight into the rock. Andesite is extremely hard, around 7 on the Mohs scale, tougher than steel chisels. To carve it with copper or bronze would take years. And yet, the surfaces show no sign of laborious chipping. It's as if the builders had access to a technology capable of slicing stone at the molecular level. A technology we have only recently mastered. Some researchers, like engineer Christopher Dunn, have suggested the stones were shaped using a lost form of sonic or vibrational machining, or even heat-softened rock. Others propose they were poured like concrete, reconstituted stone, molded and fused in place. Mainstream science rejects these ideas, but the mystery remains. If not the Tiwanaku, then who? Part 5. The connection to a lost world. To understand Puma Punku, we must look beyond the Andes. Across the planet, we find echoes of the same architectural language. Megaliths that defy explanation. At Baalbek in Lebanon, stones weighing over 1,000 tons. At Egypt's Giza Plateau, blocks fitted with hairline precision. At Cusco and Ollantaytambo, the same polygonal masonry. Massive stones interlocked like puzzles, impossible to move without cranes. It's as if different civilizations inherited fragments of the same blueprint, knowledge passed down from a forgotten source. Hancock calls it the memory of the flood. The idea that a single global culture, the mother civilization, once existed before the cataclysm at the end of the last ice age, around 12,800 years ago. When the ice melted and sea levels rose, that world vanished. But survivors carried its wisdom to new lands. Egypt, Mesopotamia, the Andes. Everywhere they went, they built with stone, watched the stars, and remembered the gods who came before. In that light, Puma Punku isn't an anomaly. It's a message, a fragment of a puzzle that spans continents and millennia. Part 6. The Great Cataclysm 12,800 years ago. Something changed the world. Ice cores and geological evidence point to a sudden, violent shift. Massive floods, abrupt climate collapse, global fires. Hancock and researcher Randall Carlson believe a comet struck the North American ice sheet, triggering a rapid meltdown known as the Younger Dryas event. It was, they argue, the origin of the flood myths that appear in nearly every culture. From Noah to Gilgamesh to the Andes' own Viracocha. If that catastrophe erased an earlier civilization, then Puma Punku may represent one of its outposts. Rebuilt later by descendants who remembered only fragments of their ancestors' science. Imagine survivors of that global flood, carrying the memory of lost knowledge, trying to rebuild what the earth had taken. Maybe they remembered the geometry, the engineering, the astronomy, but not the tools. They mimicked what they could, carving stone in the image of perfection, echoing the architecture of a forgotten age. Puma Punku, then, could be both an echo and a tomb, the last whisper of a vanished world. Part 7. Voices from the Plateau. Local Aymara myths speak of the gods who built Puma Punku with the power of sound, moving stones as easily as feathers. When Viracocha commanded, they say, the rocks obeyed. In the 16th century, Spanish chroniclers heard the same stories and dismissed them as superstition. But centuries later, physicists discovered that sound can indeed levitate objects at certain frequencies. Coincidence? Maybe. But it's one more thread in a tapestry that refuses to unravel. Even today, visitors claim to feel a strange vibration in the air around the stones, as if the earth itself hums with forgotten energy. Some describe it as peaceful, others as unsettling. The site is sacred, and local shamans still perform rituals there, believing the gods are not gone, only sleeping. Part 8. A hidden message in stone. Some researchers believe Puma Punku's layout encodes astronomical information. The angles of its remaining blocks align with solstices and star paths that date not to 500 AD, but to nearly 12,000 years ago. That same window appears at other mysterious sites: Göbekli Tepe, Giza, and even ancient Malta. Could this be coincidence or a signature? A cosmic timestamp left by the same forgotten architects? The precision of Puma Punku suggests more than religion. It suggests science, geometry, measurement, a deep understanding of mathematics and the cosmos. Perhaps the builders weren't worshiping gods. Perhaps they were remembering them. Part 9. What the stones remember. In every culture, stone is eternal memory. It holds what paper cannot: the weight of time, the silence of truth. Puma Punku has no inscriptions, no written language, no visible story. And yet, every groove, every perfect cut, feels like a sentence in a language we no longer speak. To walk through Puma Punku is to walk through amnesia, a landscape where history dissolves and myth begins. It is both ancient and futuristic, primitive and sophisticated. It makes you question everything we think we know about human progress. Could an ancient civilization, erased by disaster, have once known the secrets of geometry, sound, and energy? Knowledge we are only now rediscovering. Hancock often says, "We are a species with amnesia." Maybe Puma Punku is part of what we forgot. Part 10. The skeptics and the believers. Mainstream scholars, of course, disagree. They argue that precision doesn't require lost technology, only skill, patience, and ingenuity. They point to Tiwanaku's known tools: stone hammers, sand abrasion, and copper chisels. To them, the perfection is illusion, the product of erosion and imagination. But believers reply with a question: if Puma Punku is simple, why can't we replicate it? In laboratories, engineers have tried to reproduce the cuts using ancient methods. They could not. The angles and symmetry remain beyond explanation. Science demands evidence, yet the absence of proof is not proof of absence. The debate continues, fierce and unresolved. Between the lines of data and legend, something larger lingers, something that refuses to be explained away. Part 11. Echoes of a Forgotten Science. Imagine a civilization so advanced that it didn't need machines. A culture that understood vibration, resonance, and the harmony between matter and energy. Perhaps they could shape stone the way a musician shapes sound. Effortlessly, precisely, beautifully. Could this be what the ancients meant by the music of the spheres? A literal mastery of frequency, a language of creation itself? If so, Puma Punku might not be a ruin at all. It might be a code, a harmonic blueprint written in rock, waiting for us to rediscover how to read it. Part 12. The mystery endures. Storms roll across the Altiplano. Lightning flashes against the stones as it has for thousands of years. The sight endures, silent, patient, eternal. Tourists come and go, cameras click, theories rise and fall. But the stones remain. Maybe they're waiting for us to remember. Maybe they're whispering in the language of geometry and resonance that our history is far older and far stranger than we dare to imagine. And maybe, just maybe, those who built Puma Punku wanted it that way. A riddle carved in rock so that one day when we're ready, we'll finally ask the right question. Outro, reflective tone. Standing among those stones, high in the thin air of the Andes, you can feel it. That strange, electric awareness. As if the past is not gone, only hidden. Maybe the builders of Puma Punku didn't vanish. Maybe they became the myths we still tell, the gods of old, the architects of the impossible. And maybe, if we listen closely, we'll realize they left us more than ruins. They left us a challenge to remember who we really are. Because somewhere between the myth of the gods and the dust of forgotten empires lies the truth of our own origin. And that truth is still written in stone. Thanks for listening to The Empire of Secrets. If this episode sparked your curiosity, leave a like, drop a comment with your theory, and subscribe for new episodes every week. Want more sources or a follow-up deep dive? Tell us in the comments and we'll cover it next. Stay curious and see you in the next episode.